This lesson is about special segments and triangles. There are 3 of them that we will learn about. The first one is the median. The median is a segment that connects a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. So if we draw a triangle, we know each triangle has 3 vertices, so we can draw 3 medians, but we'll just draw one. And I'll start at one of the vertices, and I'm going to draw a segment so that it hits at the midpoint of the opposite side and it splits that side in half. That makes this the median. Okay? So the thing we need to remember about the median is that when drawn in, it splits the opposite side in half. The second of the 3 is the altitude. The altitude is a segment that goes from the vertex perpendicular to the opposite side. A lot of you probably have heard about altitude when they talk about mountains. And you know altitude measures height. So we're going to measure it straight down at a right angle. So there's the altitude of this triangle. And again, we can draw one from each vertices, but just to make it easier, we're drawing one for this picture. So the median, the one we just did, cut the segment in half. The altitude goes straight down and forms a right angle here at the bottom. That's what we need to remember about the altitude. All right. An angle bisector. An angle bisector is a segment or a ray that goes from a vertex and splits the angle into 2 congruent angles. We have had this before. Now we're just looking at it in a triangle. So let's draw another triangle. And if I go from a vertices and I split the angle in half, and now I've got 2 equal angles, this right here is my angle bisector. Okay? So the 3 were the median that split the side in half, the altitude which formed a right angle, and finally we have this, the angle bisector, that splits the angle in half. So let's try a couple of quick examples. Example 1 says BD is the median and find X and AC. Well, since BD is the median, we know that it splits the side in half. So now that we know it splits the side in half, we can easily say that 4x minus 18 has to equal x plus 12. So if I solve that, that tells me that 3x equals 30, so x equals 10. Now I need to find the length of AC. Well, on this one, because the 2 halves are equal, if I know one half, I got to know the other. So this would be 10 plus 12, which is 22. So if the right side is 22, the left side has to be 22. So AC is 22 plus 22, which would be 44. All right, let's try another example. Example 2. Now we have an altitude. And the thing we need to remember about the altitude is it measures the height, and it measures it straight down at a right angle. So this right here would be a right angle. So to find x, we can just say that 6x plus 24 equals 90. So we subtract 24 from both sides. That leaves us with 6x equals 66. So we get x equals 11. Okay? Now notice they gave us too much information to find x, but we need all of it to finish the problem because the last step is to find EF, and EF would be 3 times 11 plus 12. So we have 33 plus 12, which would be a length of 45. Alright, so the median cut the side in half. The altitude forms a right angle. Last but not least, you have the angle bisector. And the angle bisector splits the angle in half. So since JL is the angle bisector, we know this angle has to be congruent to this. They told us that left side was x plus 3, and then they told us angle IJK is 4x minus 16. So they've given us half, and they've given us the whole. Well, to make the half equal to the whole, we have to double it. So I'm going to say 2 times x plus 3, because 2 halves make a whole, equals 4x minus 16. So we get 2x plus 6 equals 4x minus 16. So we get 2x, and then add the 16, and we get 22. So x comes out to be 11. But the question's not done. They want us to find the measure of LJK. We'll trace it out. That's L to J to K. They want this side. Well, because it's an angle bisector, the two sides have to be equal. So if the left was x plus 3, this one was x plus 3. So the measure of angle LJK is going to be 11 plus 3, which is 14. All right, well, that's an example of each type, but let's do one more angle bisector because there's a different way they can set up the problem. All right, this one, JL is the angle bisector. We need to find x in that angle. Well, because it's the angle bisector, these two angles are congruent, which tells us that 4x plus 12 has got to equal 5x minus 9. Okay, and the last one they gave us a half and a whole, but this one they gave us both halves. So we'll subtract 4x from both sides and get x, and add 9 to both sides, and we get 21. So x is 21. Now it wants us to find the measure of IJK. So I to J to K. So let's go ahead and plug that in. That would be 4 times 21 plus 12. Well, that's 84 plus 12, which would be 96. So the left side is 96. So that means the right side has to be equal, so it's 96 as well. So the measure of angle IJK would be 96 plus 96. Whoops, write that correctly. 96, which would be 192. Now, the process of how we got that answer is correct, but clearly 192 is a bad answer because we can't have an angle greater than 180 in the triangle. But I think this should give you a guide of how you'd set it up in the future.